All right, so we'll get into the guys. The draft link has been provided for the next game. It's Native Synergy versus the boys. Now this is going to be a good game, guys. This is
going to be a very good match.
There are some
best of 3. Yep.
Well, see, there might be some.
A lot of people have been waiting for all day.
Yeah.
The one that people got their eyes set on.
Well, are there any grudges? Do you guys know? Is there a little bit of soreness about what has transpired between both of these teams?
Take us through it first before you start discussing it. For those who don't, just give a quick recap and then
a quick recap. So the TLDR, the whole thing. We used to have Negative Synergy, which had been together for quite a long time. Actually, straight wins here and everywhere. They've been overseas for spring and summer representing ANZ, and so into Korea as well as Sweden. They come back from the summer championships, and as good things tend to happen in the Heroes scene, a bit of a roster shuffle happens. Yeah. 4 members from the Negative Synergy team actually disbanded. They went their own separate ways.
Session being
the leader.
Yeah,
the holder of the Negative Synergy brand has stuck around. He's basically absorbed Team Baxter into its name. And now we have pretty much Negative Synergy versus Negative Synergy to a certain degree.
Yeah.
So it's a love tale, which I think there will be a little bit of saltiness depending on how this result fares. But at the end of the day, these teams, I'm sure, want to do anything it takes to go to BlizzCon.
I think as well the boys heard it from a wee bird in the vine tree or whatever the saying is, that they have a drafter known by the name of Javier.
Yes, and that's his job, literally the draft.
Yeah, so they have an assistant draftsman.
And speaking of drafting, it's happening right now, so we'll just bring that up.
It was going to be nice and smooth. We're going to link that drafting yarn into the draft itself, and people are like, But just concur, he snuck that line away from us, and it seems to be Cursed Hollow. The macro map of Desire, with Zagara seeming to be the first ban here, it seems to be the go-to ban, regardless of map nowadays.
It's pretty, to be honest, pretty standard. Her on Creek now is a joke. You just don't want to have to deal with it, really. And with the vision that it really brings open as well. As well as Cursed Hollow being such a big map, you can imagine 10 Nidus Canals being quite effective. So no surprise they're seeing that banned out, but the boys, they're taking the time to think about the first ban.
Yeah, so we can spin a bit of banter at the very end of this one, saying, if the draft for the boys is bad, we'll hit up KVA in-game on Twitter and, shout a bit of playful banter, playful abuse. So, why did you draft Murky?
Yeah, exactly. So it'll all fall on KVA's shoulders there. So I'm sure the boys are going to feel fine about that. But look at that, banning out the Abathur. I think it's more of an Abathur respect ban.
And I was just going to touch on that point and say it is a good map for Abathur, be it Cursed Hollow, but also the fact is every time these teams have versed each other in multiple tournaments across the ANZ scene, it seems to come down to whoever plays the Abathur. Is it Demise? Is it Ninja? They're both well known for it, so no surprises as a result.
Yeah, I'm not really surprised that the boys are actually banning it out for Negative Synergy because, like you say, Demise is really renowned for his Abathur play, and usually whenever he can pick it up, he will pick it up. So we're not going to see any Abathur Illidan comps as far as I'm aware now, especially with that being banned out. But the thing about this next pick, we've got 5 seconds left. They're going to hover over Kranich.
Falster being the first pick there for Negative Synergy. No surprises once more. Another hotly contested pick between these two teams, and something especially favoured on this map as well. Global pressure, a big map, soaking ability. Yeah. These teams really do come down to a macro level where they're going to be timing those camps to try and get as much value when that curse spawns, when they're going to try and split and soak and realise we cannot go for this fight, we can actually capture this, so let's go again and try and find those snowballing leads and those advantages.
Yeah, definitely. And, just from getting that curse, you'll be able to push through so hard. So it's going to be interesting to see if they try and build around that siege a bit more or something like that. Well, pressure allows them also to be able to pick up bosses and that sort of thing, which can be utilised with the curse quite nicely. And kind of acts as like that whole Sylvanas thing we mentioned in the game before, where one push can really spell you something really bad.
And with Abathur being banned, Falsa being taken, and Brightwing being taken as a support too, that's a lot of global pressure that's been, taken off the board really for Negative Synergy, as they are really looking to push the boys into a more sort of team fight centric comp. We've got Tyrael, we've got Greymane looking to really jump into the mix of things and make things happen. I have to see how they go further on into this draft. We've got 40 seconds left in that time pool as to what their second ban is going to be. Really, I feel as if they're going to look to try and ban out either a support or a highly disruptive member, be it Sylvanas.
Yeah, definitely. They don't want to give something away like that just because it could make pushing that much worse. So 25 seconds left for the boys now. They're really thinking about this one. And Negative Synergy, like you said, Skimmy, they've got a lot of global pressure at the moment. So maybe the boys are just trying to look for an option where they think we need something like that to be removed. We don't want to give them something like that. But look at that, actually hovering the ETC, pretty interesting there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that also say, if you try and read into that ban a little bit, it's saying that, hey, we are going to be running this very melee-centric comp. ETC is great against these melee targets.
Exactly,
so,
yeah.
we do not want to be disrupted by a mosh pit or a big power slide that sort of peels the rest of your team away from us. So Uther being respectively taken off the board as well, so no Divine Shield target, which would definitely be what the boys are looking for. A nice pairing between the Sanctification and the Divine Shield.
Yeah, definitely.
But the boys now have 20 seconds as a sum total to decide what these next 2 picks are.
Yeah, I mean, Negative Synergy look to have like a really nice backline. So if I was the boys personally, I'd try and combat that with a very aggressive front line.
Yep.
You can get a lot of stuns in there, and CC being just such a strong staple in the meta. We talk about the stun meta, the CC meta all the time, and just how much people love it, especially in the ANZ region. But look at that, they've picked up a Rhaegar, really good AoE heals, can kind of do a better job with a lot more AoE damage than, say, someone like Uther being banned out. But they're looking to pick up maybe they could go for a second tank here, but maybe even like some sort of ranged assassin could be very, very useful here as well.
I feel like the boys right now are deciding, do we go for the tank now or do we pick in our second assassin? Right now, I feel like the tank was the better option, and rightfully so. Murden, a great pick when ETC's even taken off, despite Dwarven Toss being changed and a few other minor tweaks. It's another great tank to take, mainly for the fact that Thunderclap, attack speed reduction, a lot of sustain. You do not want to let Negative Synergy add that to their pool.
But Negative Synergy, they're hovering this Lanara now, and looking at that team comp, I mean, the sustained team fight is really going to spell something bad for the boys. They've got a lot of like healing, and they've got probably got the Sanctification coming up later game. But Lanara just so good at pumping out that consistent damage, and with Li Ming as well, can really open up some opportunities with resets and all that sort of carry on. It's a scary lineup for Negative Synergy.
And I would say this is definitely a Lanara comfort pick for Lahal.
Yeah,
We've known a lot of times Lahal is very comfortable on this champion. He's picked it regardless of comps in some cases, just due to the mastery he has and the trust his team have in his ability to perform in it. So if these fights can be controlled, a lot of spread damage goes across the board. Li Ming can once again finish the deal, and it really goes from there. But the boys now with 15 will actually make that 10 seconds left on the clock. They've got one last option to go for. I feel like it's going to need to be that melee bruiser role, be it Frau, Sonya, or Zeratul.
Yeah, definitely. Well, hovering over that Sylvanas there, that doesn't allow them to kind of stop the capture. That you'll have to use something like a wave to stop that sort of thing from being picked up. But nonetheless, very good. Once they pick up the curse, Sylvanas can then obviously push much harder. And her destabilizing of the structures kind of acts like a curse in a weird way as well. So very, very good last pick, I must say. But I'm really liking Negative Synergy's lineup, to be honest. It's very aggressive on the back, but they certainly have the damage there. And if you're trying to punch through as the boys, you're going to have to expect some big sanctifications and just some really big initiates to break through that strong back wall there.
I like the Sylvanas now that I think about it, because it allows them to have that much more engaged potential. If you jump in and say, look to try and snipe somebody off, if a big wailing arrow comes out at the correct time, if it's actually utilised to its full extreme, then these disengage tools off the Fausted, off the Brightwing, potentially even the Li Ming, aren't going to really have much effect.
Exactly, yeah. So it's really just going to come down to the execution, I think, is what we can come to the conclusion of there, Skimmy. But we'll toss it back over to Disconcur and the friends there. And what do you guys got to say about the draft?
I really like it. The only concerning thing I have for Negative Synergy is that their only real frontliner is Johanna. There's so much trust in saying that she's not going to get blown up or sort of pushed out of the team fight, and then their backline is just exposed, really, after Brightwing. I don't know. It's going to be a lot on Brightwing to keep them alive. That's just my only concern seeing Negative Synergy's draft. And I quite like what the boys have done. I feel like they're a little bit better rounded. But as you said, if they're confident on the heroes that they're playing on Negative Synergy, I don't see a problem. Like, we're going to see... They've drafted that way for a reason, essentially. And I think it fits Cursed Hollow quite well as well. And Disco, do you have anything else that you'd like to add?
This is a pure game of skill right now. Like, each side's composition is perfect in reference to what says banned on the map. It's no one. I don't feel anyone has outdrafted each other at all. It's purely who plays the better game, who plays the hero correctly, who responds in correct talent choices. there is no definitive answer to who will win this game, but purely who is the best at Heroes of the Storm. And this isn't even the grand final.
You're setting the tone well for what's to come, and it's good to see. I think I'm pretty happy with that. As you said, game of skill about to be here. Most hyped up, one of the most hyped up games that we're going to see. So let's bring it on. The best of 3.
Just waiting for this lobby to be set up. We've actually gonna have Disconcur playing.
Yeah.
Disconcur is actually subbing in for Negative Synergy. He's a sponsored player. He's a caster. So he's a very talented man, breaking gender boundaries across the board.
Yeah.
You say gender boundaries.
Yeah, mate. You can multitask, men can't do it, but we're going to prove it to them.
Just waiting for the last spot here. And then we'll jump into it. So, if you've got any cheeky comments or any predictions or anything like that you want to toss out, just get involved in the chat. There's plenty of people talking in there. And of course, we get involved in there when we can, between games and all that sort of carry on. So, toss out some comments and some cheeky bants. You might find yourself on stream and us laughing about it. You never know.
Yeah, if you see us smiling, you've done something right there, mate. So 150 of you, somebody's going to talk, somebody's going to spin a yarn, somebody's going to get some hype going for this game.
Yeah, indeed. So, you know what? I think the game's looking to get off here. People are yelling, go, go, go. Demise is keen. Everyone's keen. So, just to remind everybody, this is Negative Synergy versus the boys. And this is going to be a big one, so make sure you tune in for this. We're just going to get underway very shortly as all the players ready up.
Yeah, this is the semi-finals now that we're in, so not too far away from that winner's bracket. Like Disconcur mentioned at the start of the stream, one team is going to guarantee themselves a spot in the ANZ Sydney final at LAN, which is pretty cool to see that a Blizzard final is actually going to allow players to finally meet up. The second team will pick up $2,000 of cash, but also have another chance to compete next weekend. So, yeah, some pretty cool things happening in the ANZ scene right now for Heroes of the Storm.
Definitely a very exciting time to be around. But we'll toss it back to Disconcur and Vandy just for any last little mentions or whatnot before we jump into the game.
Oh, you got anything there, Disco? To hype it up even more? I'm hyped.
I don't like calling future brackets, but the game that we're seeing now, there's a pretty good indication that these may be the two teams we see in the grand final later in today's qualifiers. We're talking about Team Baxter now combined with Sashin to make Negative Synergy, and we're talking about the boys picking up Arcana to fill that role that Sashin left at the Void. So both teams are not only seasoned veteran players, they played on a multitude of teams in the region. Arcana from the ye old days of Apex, a very high tier team, been around for a long time. The player himself been around for a long time. Losing Sashin hurt the boys, or the boys no longer playing with Sashin has hurt them. Picking Arcana has filled the void. And vice versa for Negative Synergy, the whole new team Sashin has picked up. Neither team has been hurt by this change. We've gone from one amazing team to two amazing teams.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's only a strength there. All right, looks like the game's going to begin. Off to you boys to cast, and we'll catch up after.
Here we are, Cursed Hollow game at number 1. It's Negative Synergy versus what some would say Arcana Synergy, formerly known, or actually properly known really, as the boys. And on the left-hand side, it's going to be Lahal playing Lunara, Penta leading the charge on Johanna, Luminum supporting on Brightwing, Sashin playing Falstead, and Demise on Liming.
And on the right-hand side, the red corner, we have the boys. So we have Arcana playing Greyman, Benjamin94 on Muradin, Ninja on Sylvanas, Rob or Robodoba playing Tyrael, and Desperts on Rhaegar.
That's the one, and we're going to see an interesting setup so far. The boys as a 5-man going to run straight through mid, whereas Negative Synergy are splitting their roster across the board, really trying to scatter to see where Ninja's going to go for. He's going to go for the mid-hand side here, instantly responds by having Brightwing teleport in, and they're not going to find that much value.
Yeah, really like watching how Negative Synergy are very aware of that early pressure. They all went to each different lane, and we're just trying to scout that out. We now see Penta just trying to get a bit of scouting, as well as Lahal just starts to apply that damage that we all know and love on Manara.
That's the one here. We talked a little bit about the draft. It's going to be interesting to see how these two comps do go, because I say we don't really have a melee bruiser for the side of Negative Synergy. And as I believe Vandy brought up in a point, she said, there's just a Johanna. She drops. It's going to be a bit of a rough time.
Yeah, and I mean, the chat's gone off about it a little bit as well, Skimmy, saying, for range, they don't know how well that's going to work out for negative synergy, but, negative synergy, like we've been talking about, they've been around for a while now, and these two teams are definitely of the higher tier in the ANZ region, so not going to put it past them, certainly have faith in them for that. In the top lane, though, Skimmy, we'll have a quick look up there. We do see Benjamin, the Murden player, going up against Linares. It's going to be a bit of a hard time for him. He does have a bit of CC, but going to get kited around a lot.
Yeah, that's mainly just going to be a soak lane there. He's not going to win that wave clear trade whatsoever. He's just looking to try and soak out until a curse does spawn. Whilst we've got on the bot hand side, it's actually going to be Sylvanas taking on Li Ming, both pretty chunked down already. Ninja's already been forced to tap that well, and especially due to how good these globes are now, going to try and get as many of those for free.
Yeah, definitely. So since the recent patch, you actually heal a little bit more, a little bit quicker off the old globes now. So definitely going to be exciting to see the implementation of how effective that is. Ninja's going to keep pushing the bot against the old Li Ming there, and it's going to be a pretty even matchup. Ninja's going to be able to split push very effectively down there.
And it's timed it pretty well. It's around about the 2-minute mark when you're going to start seeing teams split off for these golems as they do spawn. You can see right away 2 members from both sides, Negative Synergy and the boys, looking to pick up these fat boys and make it work for them. We're going to see whereabouts this curse does spawn, and I think both teams are going to be trying to hope that it spawns in the opposite corner so these golems can push for free.
Yeah, and then there comes the old algorithm into it as well as how they spawn in the future. So, good teams like these, they'll know the mechanics very well and work around them. So I'm just going to have to wait and see as to where that first one spawns, as the boys already look like they're getting ready for it.
And what I'm really curious about, Starving, is how these teams are going to posture themselves for this. I say we've got 2 globals on the side of Negative Synergy. Are they going to leave those 2 people soaking both mid and top, or are they going to have them all respond to it? Because I say they could give this one up for free, and they could just keep soaking and find themselves with a level advantage to allow them to win these next curse contestants.
Yeah, you find a lot of teams actually just saying at the start, don't go for it. We'll just abandon it and save us some time and split push. But look at this, it's going to be a fight actually breaking out now as they're looking to pick up this first tribute. It looks like every character's run down. So both teams have it in their mind that they want to grab this. Stun missing on the Murden. Up towards the top there is Arcana's going for the cap. Most likely going to get interrupted. There it goes. And Robert Dober taking the front line as the tank. And
it looks like 2 members of the boys are going to flank in straight away onto Lahal. The stun doesn't actually connect, but a lot of damage has been done towards that Bambi as they look to now try and split back across. And I suppose you could almost argue the fact they've done this is because they have the golems pushing their top lane. But look at that, Ninja down to 17 HP. He does get taken out because Session goes for a very aggressive barrel roll. Is it going to be in vain? No, it isn't. Also gets taken out as well. It's a 1-for-1 trade, make that a 2-for-1 trade as Tiro actually got caught in the crossfire of all that. And despite all this starting, they've got the fat boys pushing in the top. They picked up a tribute. That's a great start for Negative Synergy.
Yeah, definitely. So going to be able to, force themselves off that. They're 1 up now, and it actually means in the next tribute they can actually abandon that one if they actually chose to. But with this level advantage now, you're probably going to see Negative Synergy be very aggressive and try and keep going with that advantage that they found themselves. Level 7 now being picked up as well, Skimmy. And we'll have a quick look over the talents.
Those golems actually did a fair bit of work in the top side as well. You can see that tower is so low, no ammo in it, but both, arguably I suppose you could say both towers have dropped, and that's really catered to them actually being in this commanding lead, and expect to see them start going for these knights as well. But as you mentioned, level 7 has been acquired now by both teams, so if we hover across, in a second, because a big skirmish went down in the bot lane, Sylvanas actually got the better of it, as she's actually found herself back in the base. But Lahal and Session dropped extremely low, so big skirmishes happening across the board.
Yeah, they're going to have to back off from that one and simply just soak on up as they return to the lane. They're just trying to close the XP disadvantage now because, talent tiers are a big deal in Heroes of the Storm. It's the only real advantage that you can get apart from that presence there. We do see a Night Camp now being picked up by Li Ming and Joanna for the side of Negative Synergy, and another tribute is spawning towards the southwest side of the map. So we're going to have to wait and see if the boys actually cluster down towards this point.
So following that algorithm, as you mentioned at the start, so we've had one in the bottom middle, bottom left now. Next one will be top right as the algorithm goes, but it doesn't seem to actually get a contest. There's no Arcana. It does get a cocktail off, which is going to hold it on for a little bit longer as the rest of the team come on through. Benjamin mounted up on Mirrodin is making his way come across. There goes a second interrupt on Demise. Do they have a third? Demise is still channeling it. Nobody's looking to interrupt this one, so there they go.
Wow.
They get a second curse tribute. And with this, well, it seems to be that the boys' plan is just to keep trying pushing and make a fight happen.
Yeah, I actually noticed Rob chucked out the Elune sword there and didn't actually choose to recall to the sword. So I actually kind of like that play. Very defensive and very aware that he could have got blown up very easily with Li Ming and that sort of thing being around the vicinity. So very smart and educated plays by the boys there, knowing that that probably wasn't the best fight for them to take, even just being such a little bit of XP out. But now, look, they are picking up themselves the fat boys, as Skinny calls them. There's a 50 different names for these things, isn't there? And Negative Synergy responding themselves by picking up their own Easy Campbell fat boys in the top lane.
That's the one. I'm actually going to hang on to this a little bit longer, and I would say this is to try and coincide with the fact that this minion wave can come through too. Find a lot more value because they'll be protected by that one. But you can see now 3 members of the boys are pushing on in, really abusing that Sylvanas passive. They're going to pick up a tower for 3. Tower on the top hand side is still sitting around. It's within one War Attack's range, but it's going to live another day just for the meantime. Level 10 now starting has been acquired by Negative Synergy. They're a half a level lead ahead, and look to see them try and force an advantage with this.
Yeah, definitely. Level 10 is definitely the big power spike in this game, as opposed to, say, like level 20 and 16 and that sort of carry on. But now, look, we do see the third tribute being picked up. Of course, Ultimates are being picked up. Wave of Force for Li Ming is a notable one, and not actually picking up the leap on Lenara, going for the straight down spine.
And we've seen a lot of Emerald Wind play today, Starving, but Blink Heal is going to be the choice in this game here, really trying to sustain for as long as possible and have that mobility not to get caught out by this one. Daspy is actually starting that channel, but they've got a lot of members from Negative Synergy ready to interrupt and collapse if need be. And Ultimate's really across the board for the boys is pretty standard. But there goes the Bless Shield. They're looking to try and collapse onto Robodova. Instantly forces out the Territorial Sanctification. Benjamin comes in from the flank, but it looks a bit of a disengage. Negative Synergy is as a 5-man stack, but well, it looks like boys are split from the side. There goes the big wailing arrow. They're looking to try and collapse. Straight away, Fausta gets dropped here, but a big polymorph comes across. It's a 1-for-1 trade. Lahal in the wings as well. He does actually drop 2. Robodova is tanking the world. He's got Thespian support. Ninja's actually going to go for the capture the whole time. Luminum is so dangerously low, down to 200, but there goes the pounce. Swiper, no swiping. Daspert gets the kill. They're looking for more. Penta's out of mana, but it seems to be it's going to be a great trade, actually. A 3-for-1 in favour of the boys.
Yeah, so just to talk about what kind of happened there is they do go for this boss on the side of the boys. We saw just how aggressive Greyman was being in that fight. Managed to get on the inside of everything there while all of that stuff was going down to just get picks on the squishier target. But now look at this, they're already keen for the next fight. Boss is about 20%, they need to be so careful here.
Oh, this is dangerous.
Yeah, wow, I think Penta and the boys might actually just come and try and cap this up against the boys. And wow, they do, so they kind of just let that go. I feel like that was quite smart, but wow, really not the situation you want to be put in if you are playing on the boys team.
And as the boys did, that was a very on-the-fly decision straight away. Like, hey, we want a team fight. Let's just go for this boss straight away. But the respawn time is given, we're only, say, 8 minutes into this game, was so dangerously short with the double globals they had. Right wing TP'd in, phase shift onto somebody to make things happen. They had the flight from Fausta too, and suddenly what looked like a numbers advantage went against them because they were still so depleted from that previous team fight.
Yeah, definitely. It was very hard for them to do anything, especially Mirrodin having no mana, no CC. And now if we look at Negative Synergy, they're grabbing the bottom boss and the tribute spawning so conveniently placed. And look at the timing of all these things. So, Negative Synergy, they're on 2 out of 3 on the tribute. They're going to get the curse if they pick up this tribute here. And it's going to spell something really bad for the boys. So the timing is just impeccable here for Negative Synergy.
I mean, you couldn't ask for better RNG in this case here. 2 bosses, potentially a curse as well to push it with. And, you could even look to pressure a keep, despite it being this early on into the game. But the fight looks like it's potentially breaking out there. The polymorph went across onto Benjamin 94, who's already been dropped extremely low. Daspy forced to try and top people up. But they're looking just to back away from this one. They're saying, we cannot contest this. They're 13 as well. On top of everything, we're just going to have to take this one and just try and, reduce the damage control.
Yeah, it's such a shame as well, because like we said, the boss is wailing away in the bottom lane. They're just going to simply back off that. I really like that decision as well. Being a talent tier down, fighting under that would just be absolutely monstrous there. But they're going to pick up some fat men there, which are actually going to help deal with that boss quite considerably. But here comes Penta.
They've got to be careful here, Negative Synergy, because I say they're going to go in to try and spot them out at this golem camp. But you can see 2 members, both tanks for the boys, are sitting in the wings. They were the last ones to get out there. Ooh, looks like Rob's going to jump out of that one. But Benjamin still is in the front line. He does the Woven Toss out in the end, but look at this. There's a lot of damage coming across. The boss is still on 50% health. They're going to look to pressure a keep, I would say, here, Starving. It's been slightly deterred by this fountain, but it's still so beefy. This curse has got another 20 seconds left to go.
Wow. And
they're so dangerously low. Looks like Ninja is about to drop unless Taspi has a heal. He doesn't have a heal. Oh, he just does at the very last second there, but this is dead. Dead keep.
Yeah, wow, they're getting so much worth out of this boss here as it's just wailing away. And look at the top lane Skimmy, it's just getting wailed on as well. So this XP disadvantage is just really pushing them in a bad way. The boys really looking to just square off here because this is not.
They might actually be going for the core here, but not without a fight going down because there goes Tyrell's Sanctification. He's trying to make things happen. The boss is still healthy. The core is down to 93%. Could they just go in for the all-in here? I don't know if they're going to do that, but they're still looking to full supply anyway. Rob is super low. There goes the Blessed Shield. Everything's going across. Tyrill does drop. There goes the passive too, trying to split people off. they don't really know what they're trying to do right now. Benjamin 94 is trying to tap up as long as possible, but the damage has already been done, Starving. The core is down to 60% health. There goes the Gust as well. Ben jumps in, but the stun is no follow-up. And, well, Negative Synergy, a 3-level lead. What a great set of events for them.
Yeah, wow. I mean, they managed to get 2 keeps off that Skimmy and 1 push with 1 tribute. The bottom boss pushing so far down. We saw how much work that got. And it dropped the keep, the main building down to 62%. So leaving the boys in such a scary situation now. So many options for Negative Synergy to like these cheeky backdoor plays, very, very fast plays to win the game quickly after one team fight. So, you know, as the boys now, what's kind of your approach? You're in a 3-level disadvantage. You get your map control back, but where do you go there?
I say they've been in situations like this before. I don't believe tilt should be the biggest factor in this sort of situation. It should be a case of shot calling, really. You know, okay, what is our plan going forward right now? And as we said before, damage control is really the aim of the game. Just try and set it out, try and reach 16-2 on those even talent foots to play with on those talents. And then try and make a fight work in your favour. You know, you're a team that's been together for the majority of it for a long, long time. You know how each other plays. So, you know, you realise that their keeper's dropped in the bot lane. You realise it's dropped in the top side. But, you know, just try and make one team fight happen and go from there.
Yeah, it's really going to depend on the Wailing Arrow and the Sanctification Arrow, I think, especially because, you know, Lanara's sitting at the back, just keeps doing a thing, keeps dropping Benjamin 94 on that Mirrodin. I mean, look at that damage. They haven't even initiated yet, and Benjamin 94 just forced to simply back away, and Li Ming with the poke as well, being so detrimental. Here comes another tribute as well now, Skimmy, which could be a potential tribute pick up for the boys if they look to win a fight.
And Session's doing a great job there. He pushed that in top lane entirely, forcing the cannons to come through, forcing the golems as well. That means that the boys had to respond to that. Allows him to pick up that tribute for free as well.
Yeah.
And now they're going to be banging on that middle keep and really trying to say that, you know, you're going to be stuck in your base for the rest of this game.
Yeah, exactly. And this is just getting very, very bad for the boys very quickly. I mean, they're doing a very good job of defending this last keep, and arguably they really do need to stay alive, at least until they kind of close up the gap a wee bit more. But, you know, Negative Synergy playing so confidently, and they don't want a bar of that. They're just going to say, you know what, we're going to take that, and we're going to stick around until it's gone. So, very nice.
And it's patience really here from the boys as they're trying to basically say we need 16 before we can decide to commit, because if we don't hit 16 before this keep drops, then, you know, we're in a whole world of trouble. Like I said before, stuck in your base, stuck on wave clear for the rest of the game, and you know, Sessions is still being cheeky. He's been, you know, picking up mercenaries, applying pressure where he can, but Ninja, great response. He can clear that one out quite easily.
Yeah, Session has definitely been the cheeky little bird there, flipping the bird, I bet you, as well. Robert Dotter's scoping out this boss here. He knows what's going on, and he's just not interested in giving up another free boss, because Negative Synergy, they pretty much have free access to do whatever they want on the map right now. And you can owe it to Session as well, with just being on the map so often, getting these camps, pushing the lanes, and then returning back with his team, and they're just always forced to deal with things.
They're just trying to light this map up. Blue. You can see Faust is down the bottom hand side, and that's going to force this fight. Look at that. Greymane instantly destroyed. The Mize finds another kill. Wave Force comes across. There goes the Gust as well. It's just absolute carnage. In Negative Synergy, they just pull the pin and they make things happen. Ninja down to 100 health. Oh, the wave of Force. The Mize nearly got the blind kill. Force at the certification. Benjamin is about to drop as well. It's just a complete dismantling of the boys' roster, and Ninja's the only one still remaining. That is GG.
Yeah, definitely. No question about that one. A bit of cheeky banter in the chat as well, but GG has been called. What a performance by Negative Synergy. Just, you know, another new Negative Synergy. But they're showing that, you know, we got moves still. Even since the roster changes, we still know what we're up to.
And then basically, to a certain degree, I suppose you could say, saying that this is our name, this is the sort of philosophy we have. We're not going to show any signs of, you know, being bad.
I was just going to say as well how it seems like it's the same Negative Synergy it's always been, you know, and it's quite strange thinking about that. When Negative Synergy, well, the old Negative Synergy is the boys. So, you know, the boys, they got it handed to them right there, and I've really got to praise Negative Synergy on their performance. We'll have a quick look at the stats. Sylvana's playing quite well. That was Ninja on the side of the boys. A lot of damage, a lot of siege damage, something you can expect. But, I mean, yeah, the real big plays were coming out of that Lanara, and that's what we predicted before the game even began.
And we did. We said Lahar was very confident on the hero, and for quite a few reasons. You could see exactly how he was posturing himself. And, I mean, we mentioned at the start of the game, and even at the end of the draft, that we're thinking, okay, we've got no bruiser. We've got no, say, big melee role on the side of the Negative Synergy roster, but did it really phase them?
I don't think they, like, after looking at the team fights in hindsight and actually seeing them, it didn't really feel like they needed a bruiser. They were always just poking. They were always just sitting back and letting Joanna take the front line, you know. And it was so good to see. We see Falstad, Sashin just playing very cheaply, like just dividing away from this team, just being like, oh, come and soak this lane for a wee bit. I'm going to push it for you. And before you know it, they had 2 keeps down, you know. So
I feel it's very disjointed in the side that Negative Synergy really abused the fact they had double globals. And once you start winning those engagements, even from that first tribute, when the favourable trade went and they actually picked it up, as well as the Goblins pushing, you know, it doesn't really spell to be that good when you sort of find that advantage there. And then the boys trying to scrap fights wherever they could, but it seemed to be that tanks were the last ones to die. It was a bit disjointed. Yeah,
definitely. So, I mean, I guess all we can really say about that's going to be between you and I's Negative Synergy playing it to a, sopping, absolutely beautiful place. But we'll toss it back to old Disco here and Vandy. They might have a different opinion, so you got anything to add?
It was an amazing game to watch, about to say, in the Negative Synergies field. I was interested to see how their new roster would work out. Sashin in the lead, and then taking the other the 4 new ones, new boys, and they did. They played really well. Like you said, it felt like watching the old Negative Synergy. Very calm, relaxed, and they small advantages. It was all looking good for both teams until the boys made that snap decision early on to try and capture the boss in the top lane. That cost them the game. Once they made that play and Negative Synergy came, early game, small death timers, they came back in, they stole the boss, and they could never get back into it. They got Negative Synergy went and got the boss in the bottom lane. The curse spawned. They had 2. They already had 2 tributes. So they could easily pick up the 3rd one with the boss in the top, boss in the bottom. And then after that, there was just never an opportunity that the boys could get back into it. Slowly towards the end, you could feel a little bit of desperation in their plays. Putting themselves out that little bit more and then getting taken advantage of. And it just, it was there. The game was over when that boss in the top lane was captured by Negative Synergy.
Yeah, I was just going to say it.
Not really captured, stolen, sorry. When it was stolen by Negative Synergy.
Yeah, that really set the loss, I think, from there, because, they lost the boss. Only just by fraction as well. They had to give it up because Joanna just ran on in. Yep. And at that point, you're not getting it back. I think everyone knows that you're not going to get back off of Joanna. That's just going to be the boss. So just got to give it to Negative Synergy for that one. But it looks like the team's too eager. The teams are too eager to get into the next game. So we're going to jump into it, and it's Tomb of the Spider Queen skimming. So first time today, I believe, on stream at least, and not about to see a lot more play on these days.
Yeah, I mean, just like Tales of Doom, these are some of these maps that have niche strategies behind them. You'd have to argue, what the boys have in store, because this would have been their map choice as to why they would have gone for this one. Negative Synergy have gone straight for that Kerrigan ban. The boys are hanging on to a little bit longer now. And I say, Zagara would seem like a very good option, but the boys picking this one, given it doesn't see much play, have decided to go for the Fausted instead.
Yeah, I think on this map as well, you can kind of steer away from the Zagara ban just a wee bit, just because it's a much smaller map.
Yeah.
And if people tend to run that Nidus build that everyone does like to know and see, it's not as effective, but my lord and saviour, Zagara's been first picked. That's a first.
Now, you have to argue there, say, the boys had all the time in the world to decide here between, say, the Fausted and the Zagara. Did they want to bait out the Zagara? Did they have a plan in mind for if this was taken? Because I say, Zagara's not that mobile.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, her threat really, she excels much more into a threat as the game progresses as well, but still such a solid early game. We do see the boys, they've picked up Thrall and Joanna, and I mean, that's very nice picks already. So Joanna's quite effective at dealing with Zagara. She pops down all her creeps and that sort of thing. Joanna can come in and can bring them all closer together. And Thrall, obviously, just such a strong bruiser at level 7 with that follow through.
So that's your 2 solo lanes instantly picked up on the board there. And Joanna being, the best AoE clearer as a tank, to be honest. And this is really what this map relies on, is bouncing between those lanes, soaking, getting gems, really playing that objective to try and find some worth. And, you'd ask, is Sylvanas going to see playing this map as well? Combined with Zagara, it's going to be a bit of an interesting option. But, I mean, Negative Synergy have a few different ways they can combine this one here. Depends if they're looking to try and play the Zagara. Are they going to go for the Nidus, or are they going to go for the standard Moor? If it's the Moor, I'd expect to see an ETC.
Yeah, definitely. ETC with a Moor is something very scary, something you don't want to be dealing with. Love that pick, though. They are hovering the Mirrodin at the moment. maybe to pick up that Thunderclap, which is quite effective against bruisers here. But you know what? They say, no starving. They're going to go Li Ming and 180 that theory that you just put out there, so you're wrong. But Greymane also being hovered as well. But, man, there's a lot of picks that they could go with on this style of map.
Well, they've gone for 3 damage picks straight off the bat. Very aggressive opening here for Negative Synergy, not leaving anything in the reserve and basically putting all their cards down and saying, this is what we have. How are you going to deal with this?
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, the boys are in a situation where they can ban out now and they choose Tyrael, so they're not keen to deal with the Sanctification. You know, I feel like in this map, they're more often than not, you're kind of skirmishing in more openish areas. So, you know, the Tyrael ban, can you maybe shed some light on why that was banned out?
I feel like the Tyrael ban really caters to what they were trying to do before. You saw Negative Synergy actually hover it a little bit.
Yeah.
It's a popular pick for the main reason of, you know, the amount of damage and support you bring. It's like a DPS, which is also a tank, which is also support. Kind of the best of both worlds all brought into one, and the fact that you have Sanctification on top of it protects these big targets, be it Zagara or Greymane.
Kind of like win conditions in a weird way.
To a degree. I mean, you can see here Negative Synergy then take out the Kelfast as a response and not going to allow these wizards to be taken for free, so a bit of a trading between the two. And then the boys on top of all that say, well, we're going to take Uther, and we're going to take your beloved Lunara, because you're not going to choose it.
Yeah, definitely. So I love that pick there, picking up that Lunara. And now it's Negative Synergy's turn to round out their comp. You know, they need a tank desperately, as they do have, you know, a very squishy lineup at the moment with not a whole lot of CC. So the hovering the Mirrodin, very much so like that. And I talked about before the Thunderclap and how effective that can be against heroes like Thrall. And even Lunara, you Dwarven toss into Lunara, slow her DPS down a wee bit, and even a stun can really just be the deciding factor in which if she does or doesn't die. And Malfurion. So Malfurion, admittingly, he doesn't see, in comparison to a whole lot of other supports, he doesn't see as much play. I feel like he is quite niche as well.
Mouth is an interesting one, because I say he's good to a degree, but he's not almost insta-pick worthy as, say, how Uther and Rhaegar are. And, you know, Malfurion, I remember, it used to be a good bit of a pairing between Mouth and Zagara. If Zagara's going to go for them more, then you've got the route to come afterwards, the Innovate to provide and buff up what Li Ming and Zagara are trying to achieve as well. So some interesting options. And if you look on the side of the boys, there's not really much burst damage apart from the fact of, you know, the Thrall. You know, you've got Lunara trying to chuck out damage wherever she can. Mouth can negate that to a degree with Tranquility, but Tychus looking to try and shred down tanks and sustain himself.
Yeah, I think the one thing I like about the boys' team matchup, or team makeup at the moment, is just how hard it's going to be for Negative Synergy to waltz on and up to them. You know, Tychus being such an annoyance when you're trying to get up in his face, he just hits the chain gun. It's like, I'll take you down to 40%, you know, it's such a pain. So I'm actually really liking the two team comps here. I feel like, you know, Negative Synergy have some interesting stuff going on, especially Malfurion. Really like Malfurion a whole lot. And I'm interested to see if we see them more or we see the Nidus, because like I said before, Skimmy, bit of a smaller map. Nidus, you know, may not see the play here. So
I feel as if more has been kind of told to a certain degree by picking this Mouth.
Yeah.
Trying to say that, hey, you know, if we catch somebody, there's going to be a route. You're going to get blown up by a Li Ming Greymane combo. So you know, how are you best prepared for this one? But you know, we've had a little bit of analysis. I'm personally thinking that you know, I'm going for the boys.
Yeah.
Want to see what they can do with this Tychus. I'm always a big fan of when Tychus is in the game. But enough about what we think. Let's chuck it back to Vandy and Disco to see what they have.
Cheers, guys. I really have to agree with you on most accounts. So just the Lunara Tychus just being able to shred, I guess, their line if Zagara doesn't take more. So it's really going to depend on that. I think we will see more. We won't see Nidus on this map. I feel like Nidus won't have as much of an impact. But I don't know. And I like the Thrall and Johanna picks as well as Uther. It gives them a lot of CC and versatility in that regard for the boys. And I'm interested to see what they do with it. Disco, any further thoughts?
It's the last pick, Tychus. I find an interesting pick. It can is very much known as a tank shredder, and you'd see him usually picked up against, you know, say double warrior compositions. But the Tychus pick up against the Mirrodin. Mirrodin's pretty tanky, and he's, you know, can normally be safe in what he does. But with Tychus on the field, he's got to be so careful. I mean, Mirrodin's in a position to get bursted down. You know, Malfurion, Mirrodin, Greymane, Li Ming, and Zagara. Each one of them is a potential death target coming from the boys. They can kill literally anyone. Anyone gets caught, they can take him down. They've got the Feral Spirits from Thrall. They've got the Stun from Uther. They've got Johanna and her Condemn and her Blessed Shield if that's the ultimate taken. So yeah, the boys, I think they've got a pretty good lineup here coming up against Negative Synergy. However, Li Ming, Greymane. Li Ming, tons of damage, and Greymane jumping on Lunara in the back line. So they do have tools to respond to the plays by the boys. And Maul, if Maul's taken by Zagara, yeah, that's again another way to prevent the boys from doing any big follow-up and damage as well, splitting off the team. So, you know, all in all, it's again I think it comes down to which team plays the best. And one mistake, all it takes is one mistake, like we saw in the last game, to completely change the outcome.
Well, couldn't have said it better myself, and that's the man himself.
That's the wrap up of this one as we go into game number 2 of the hotly contested match. Negative Synergy versus the boys.
Hi.
Boys looking to try and keep themselves alive in this one. They do not want to be going down to that best of 1 lower bracket because that is never a fun time to be had.
We don't even mention it because we have to call the lower bracket the losers bracket. But you know, everyone in this scene is winners in our eyes. But who'll be on the left hand side? It's gonna be the blue side.
On the blue hand side, it is Negative Synergy 1-0 in the series. Lahal is playing Zagara, Sashin on Greymane. Penta is on Muradin, Demise is playing Li Ming, and Aluminum rounds it out on the Malfurion.
And on the red side, the right side, well, the correct side, Arcana playing Tychus, Ninja on the Nara, Desperts playing Uther, Robodoba on Joanna, and Benjamin 94 on Thrall, and it's the boys.
Yeah, a few different conditions that both these teams are trying to establish. Feels as if the boys are going to be hungry for this one. They just reset themselves. They've been in situations like this, be it at LAN or physically just playing online in these highly stressful situations. Feels as if they can definitely be the team to sort of just put themselves back into it and say, that happened, but we're not out of it yet.
Well, you know, they've definitely had the experience, like you say, Skimmy, and they're not out of this one yet. Of course, we did see in the first game we got the cast that, you know, they managed to bring it back, the Plantronics back from a 1-0 at the start. So, you know, very fantastic things from them. Maybe we'll see something similar here from the boys, but let's not get too ahead of ourselves. Game's only just begun.
It has indeed, and looking at the talents straight off the bat, we see Shroudov being taken by Arcana on Tychus. They're looking to have a little bit of resistance when he does go in, or even disengage from that one, as well as Infest being taken by Zagara. Seems to be the common denominator, really, just siege potential, as we see that 1v1 lane. Benjamin 94 up against Lahal, the battle of the solo laners.
Yeah, definitely, and you know, since the changes to Zagara, what do you really think is in store for the Thrall on the bottom lane there? Do you think it's going to be a lot harder for him to deal with now?
Thrall, have a good time in terms of he has the self-sustain built into his kit. Really, these are arguably some of the best solo laners in the game right now, but will have the slight advantage with that range poke. It really relies on Benjamin being able to actually hit that Feral Spirit.
Yeah, definitely, and if you're quite aware, of course they're not probably going to be learning that too often. We do indeed see Ninja being so effective on the Nara as well, so Lahal probably going to be pretty angry about that one. I took my hero, the bastard, but that's alright. They're going to be stocking up these gems here. No real XP disadvantage yet. Both teams really knowledgeable as to what they have to do here.
So, I mean, this map in particular really has a big, strong showing on terms of actual wave clear. You're looking to try and bounce between these lanes as quickly as possible so that you can then sit in these, vision shrugs and say, find a member, catch them out, blow them up, and make things happen. And, you know, if they're not alive and kicking, well, they can't circle lane. They can't actually go for these gems. And this is what's happening right now. Daspy face checks that one. Rob then needs to charge too. Big actual mouth root comes across into Arcana. But the heal and the dash is just what he needs to get himself out of harm's way.
Yeah, Daspy needs to be a bit more careful this game. He's noticing that face check in the brush almost getting taken out by the Li Ming combo, but unfortunately she was a bit too close. And notable mention as well, that a lot of Li Ming's opting to go for the Magic Missile build today as well, so a lot of people opting and preferring that over the Arcane Orb build, which I find quite interesting. But you know what? They are the best players of the region, so sure they got their reasons for that. Benjamin 94 just going to continue away in the bot lane and sitting on a comfortable 12 Gs.
Yeah, so Zagara was actually pushing him in pretty hard, but then he did actually connect with that Feral Spirit. And as I mentioned in that trade, in that matchup, if it does land, you get a fair bit of damage off, and that did force Zagara to retreat. So Session was just covering the lane for a second there. He was actually going to sit in the bush to see if anybody was going to go for it, but now it seems to be a skirmish over this bottom hand in. But it's once again coming down to that common denominator, just bouncing between lanes, accruing those gems. And right now, the advantage really is in favour of the boys with a 10 stack up.
Yeah, definitely. And I just think they're a bit more on top of their rotations as well. Joanna, we actually mentioned being such an effective wave clearer, and they have the Tychus there to kind of combo with the Condemn. You pull them in, the grenade comes out, and that's pretty much a dead wave. You do see a bit of a fight going out now. Despy trying to get a cheeky hand in, but Demise makes short work of that, Skimmy. And with that poke, well, that's going to be an easy time for you, huh? Isn't it?
Absolutely, and you can see once again all of that Penta is trying to make things happen there. He's really relying on that entangling route from connecting. But I was just going to touch on the wave clear a little bit further. We don't actually see the increased damage that can come out for that, Moonfire being taken by Malfurion. But actually, Malf does other jobs instead. The route connects, and the damage from Li Ming goes across too. And that's what you're going to be really concerned about if you're a squishy target.
Yeah, definitely. Lanara, certainly a squishy target. You call her Bambi sometimes, I hear saying, and she is quite Bambi-ish, isn't she? But, they're doing pretty well at the moment. The XP disadvantage is somewhat leveled out here. And, wow, Arcano actually got him blowing up. Getting stuck and entangled there. Is he going to go down? No, Uther does body block there to a degree. Kind of blocking any projectiles there going towards Arcana. But very, very scary stuff when the Malfurion is getting these combos so frequently.
So you can see right now that the trades in terms of wave clear between top and mid is in favour of the boys. But right now, the solo laner is definitely going in favour for Negative Synergy right now, despite them both being pretty well sustained and pretty well topped up. Just the pressure that Lahal can bring with that siege is just far more than what Ben can do in terms of these 1v1 skirmishes. He's not been given any room. The ability for these creatures to spot out any ganks, really allowing him to play so aggressively.
And this is when the raps start, Skinny here. This is when the tongue-twisting, wriggling stuff, the red web weavers, can finally slay it after years of practice. Hasn't even been out for that many years, but fantastic. They have been summoned, and they are now descending for the side of the boys. So you're going to see some big red spiders. There they go. Bow, ow, ow. And I hate spiders. It's not very nice.
Arachnophobia, absolutely. Yeah. Never a fun time with that one there, but you can see that the boys have one place in mind, that is to push on through mid lane. Penta tried to make something happen. Dwarven tosses out, has second thoughts about that one there, but looking just to try and pick up as many structures as they can for free whilst these spiders are healthy.
Wow, we actually see Penta being super, super aggressive there as he just runs past the spider and just jumps onto the back line of the boys and actually kind of forces them out there. Lahal sitting around the bottom, and he's going to be dealing with that very nicely. And quite a nice thing as well about Zagara is now that she can Baneling and doesn't have to worry about the wave because her Banelings don't die to AoE damage. So, just that little bit more consistency on the damage does actually help quite a little bit. But look at Penta getting taken a little bit low there. It's passive, of course, going to proc up Skinny. He's just going to start healing again.
That's the one. They're still pushing on here. They've actually changed their attention to the top hand side. You can see Ninja doing great work there, spreading poison across so many different targets, all slowed down and really catering to what Rob can do with that Condemn as well. But we're seeing a few talents that are interesting at level 7. We've actually got most notably Wizened Duelist being taken there by Greymane. So really looking to try and snowball, find those stacks, and be a real big powerhouse to try and deal with.
Yeah, and other than that, some pretty standard stuff across the board, I guess we could say. Benjamin 94 kind of stuck dealing with the soak in the bottom lane here is the team Negative Synergy. They're looking for a hand in, and as the boys have been interrupted many times, they didn't get interrupted Negative Synergy. But look at the Sasha getting taken out. And what exactly? Looks like just to be a quick pick.
Yeah, I mean, Session got completely baited by that one. The route was actually really good, and he actually committed for it, but then realised that the person actually got out before the route connected. So, paid the price for that one there, and as the sort of saying goes, you played yourself.
Yep, and DJ Khaled wouldn't be happy about that one, but you know what? Here come the blue web weavers, so one apiece, or one summon each side. And, they're going to try and make short work of these. I believe the boys do have quite a lot of damage to deal with this, but look at Penta, he's just so confident.
Oh, and Ninja's so dangerously low. He does finally get the wave of light just in time, thankfully. So it doesn't look like she has the well available to him. The stun comes out, but it hits the tower instead. And Ninja's just darting, playing with fire. Despy being so good here, just topping him up, realising that he himself will just go back to base instead. But Arcane's been completely caught out here. 3 members on top of him. There's no heals available. Does Despy have anything for him? Despy doesn't. Zagara does actually drop in the end, though. He actually dies in the 1v1 solo lane. It's a kill going back and forth. Ninja drops off the poison. Does Lunum have a heal? He doesn't have any mana to even pop a heal of himself. Mouth drops. It's a 2 for 2. Make that a 3 for 2 because Ufa dropped as well. And, a crazy set of engages happening just at the level 10 mark.
Yeah, I mean, I really think what that came down to there was just taking a bit too much damage before engaging into that fight. But we've had an important game, moment in the game, Skimmy, where we can have a look at the ultimates. So, what's interesting? What's really catching your eye in terms of these ultimates here?
Pretty standard across the board. I mean, the hotly consistent thing we were saying during the draft is it going to be more, or is it going to be Nidus Network? Really, I felt as if you're going to pick up that mouth, you're going to go for them all. Exactly. We've seen a lot of good routes so far in this game, so it makes it even easier when they're definitely locked up on one single spot.
Yeah, and we actually see Tigers picking up the relentlessness as well, and accompanied with that Odin is so effective. But look at this, another fight breaking out yet again. It's gonna be very scary stuff for the boys as they're just trying to get a cheeky hand, and they actually managed to.
Yeah, second hand in for the boys there as they look to once again push on through mid. They're going to deny that Nightcap from finding any value, instantly swimming without any trouble whatsoever. And it's a level 11 to 11 right now. Both teams as a 5-man squad are sitting pretty in this mid side, looking to try and force an engage. Grayman has now split off to the top side, trying to clear that one out. And with this knowledge in mind, the boys might look to try and find a cheeky pick.
Yeah, definitely. They can force a fight with, the old Grayman not being there. But it actually looks like they're actually opting to get away from that. And Falls actually ran up to the top lane to kind of stop the Grayman just getting free exits. Grayman being so making up. But look at Rotodoba taking the front line, so heavy, followed up, nice more with the roots as well, as we do see the Odin coming down as well to try and just do some damage.
And that's Leeming in a nutshell, so very squishy. And some team like the boys with the mechanical skill they have about them, you know, if somebody gets caught like that, they're going to pull a trigger and you're gone. There's no second chances in that one, and that's exactly what happened to Leeming. Unfortunate not to find any more, but we did see that combo we were mentioning, the Moor and the Root came down together, and if it's a 4-5v5, that's going to be very scary to deal with.
I think the Root was just a tiny bit early though, because they were actually in a full duration Moor, obviously, and came out with no Root actually being under that Moor. So just a little bit of a misplay there. But you know what? In a situation like that, you really got to get your Moor out and try and save your team from all getting picked off. And I think that's what they actually achieved there with that Moor negative synergy. So big plays with the boys. You know, they're just really trying to force and increase this disadvantage that's been placed in negative synergy.
Yeah, you can see two members of the boys sitting in the top side here. Wondering if they're going to go for the boss there, but they do decide not to in the end. They've realised now that the golems are being picked up in that bot side. Their night camp is still available, and well, you know, you can tell that the OSMG are aware of this, but they're going to go for a hand in anyway. It looks like Penta instantly getting dropped down, forced to pop that avatar, so that's a big ultimate down for a fair chunk of time. Lahal getting dropped so dangerously low. The Moor's not going to be enough. Tranquility has been popped, looking to try and top up as many people as possible. The Sundering comes across. There goes Lunam, dropped so dangerously low. He's popped the heal on himself. He's got Tranquility still working. Brilliant Brute comes across too. It zones out a few, but it's not going to be enough. Divine Shield comes across onto Benjamin 94, and he's looking at Leeming, saying you're down to 200. Smacks him with their mace. And that's a full team wipe by Grayman.
Yeah, I definitely think what we need to pay attention to is Ninja there and his positioning, just going over that wall skimmy the whole time, just chucking dots out and being an annoyance. And they couldn't even target him, so, you know, they definitely had to back out of that fight. And what that resulted in is actually negative synergy all around losing that fight. Just concur, actually mentioned before we go into the game as well, that Muradin is going to have such a hard time against that Pikus, and what do you know? Sure does.
Pikus and Lunara are definitely going to shred that Muradin down. He's such a tanky character, but sometimes that can actually be used against you. I mean, the only saving grace from that team fight there was that Grayman had 60 gems on him, and he managed to get away and hand it in just before anybody from the boys were able to react. So the hand-in has gone across. The blue or Web Weavers now the first set for negative synergy, have to send it on to the field.
I do actually believe that's a second net set there, Skimmy, though, but you know, nonetheless, they are going to be grabbing this. And looks like they're actually forcing most of their attention up to the top. Here comes the Dragon Laser being dropped. Now Skimmy, another fight breaking out.
Oh, Big Maul comes across, actually brings in the laser with it. It's 3 members if you count the laser as a human body. But no, Arcana does get out of that one. Chucks at the nade, looking to try and burn down Penta as much as possible, and Ninja's doing what he does best. Look at him galloping across. Ice Block comes across, but it's not going to be enough. Sundering comes across too. There goes two. Make that free because they're looking for more demise. It drops so dangerously low. Rob's trying to tank people up. Lahal is super low. And man, oh man, Starving needs some scary fights if you're on the side of negative synergy.
Yeah, definitely a very, very nice fight. You see Ninja doing what he does best. Skimmy, he's just running up the side in these team fights while all the CC's being chucked out by Robodoba and Despits and that sort of thing. And Ninja's just getting free access to lay on that DPS. So very, very large plays from the side of the boys. Such a different game from what we saw last game, isn't it?
Absolutely, and I said, you know, a team like them, they've got the experience, they realise, okay, we didn't really win that game. Okay, the RNG was slightly against us, you know, we lost one boss and it just seemed to go down from there. But this is a fresh game, we have so much experience, let's just not let one game destroy us. And you know, they're coming out the door kicking this one, it's 16 to 14 now, Starving, 10 kills to 3.
Yeah, exactly, so completely flipping the game on its head here. We see, you know, the first game being highly in negative synergy's favour, somewhat turning to the boys now. Spotlight turns on them. But enough about that. We are looking to see another fight pretty soon as they are all clustering around the middle.
Sundering available in 10 seconds, Draken Laser 2, and we got more available in 15, so expect to see something a little bit more aggressive come across afterwards. 57 skulls, or 57 gems I should say, sorry, still available to be handed in, so as soon as these web weavers are in, expect to see the boys pulse for 16.
Yeah, definitely, and something quite interesting as well last game, I think it may have actually affected the boys' performances. B94 usually playing some sort of more like carry-orientated role. It's actually on the floor this game, and we saw him playing a tank last game, which isn't something I've actually seen him play a lot of in my experience.
Oh, look at this, man, you're in the wrong place at the wrong time. The more! Actually, I mean, sorry, the Sundering, he went for it and interrupted, so it's on a 10-second cooldown. Caught in the wrong situation at the wrong time. That power spike is getting completely negated, but look at that, the more gets chucked out completely away. 2 members against 2 in the skirmish as they're looking to try and flatten from the side. Session forced to jump away. Draken Laser doing work, and there's a huge Tranquility topping everybody up. There's Rob Tanks on 5, but wow.
Really like the positioning of that Draken Laser. You saw you get a synergy try and capitalise off the misfortune there of the boys, but you know, the positioning of the Draken Laser really forced me to just say, hey, look, we need that Draken fight. So very, very nice place. And also, Fury almost dying by having to pop the ice block behind the wall there. So very scary stuff. But if that was me, I would have died because I can't even hit ice block on time. That's how bad I am. But just shows how good these players can make. So responding to the red web weavers at the moment, negative synergy, just removing the top. And here they come at the bottom now.
Great rotation by the boys as they're going to push in with 4 members. Fro is coming in the wakes. And remind you still do have the Sundering available. Sundering is going to come from the side here. Look at his positioning. If these people spot them, Sundering is going to come across as well. There goes the Ferrosphere and the Sundering. Instantly looks to be that session's gone. Goodbye, Graham. And there is half your damage taken away. Ufa Divine Shield on towards Lanara as she gallops across, dropping poison wherever she can, really giving Lahal a taste of his own medicine. Root comes across to prevent anybody else from chasing up, but that's 2 crucial targets for negative synergy down. And this looks to be a keep being taken as a great reward.
Absolutely huge, and I think what that comes down to is just the boys waiting and that favourable positioning there, Skimmy. We saw 2 players waiting, and as Muradin came through with the rotate, he just got taken out very quickly. Divine Shield out onto Lanara as she just wiled away and did everything that she had to. So I think the comms of this game for the boys is much more comfortable. They feel much more comfortable with the picks they've picked as well, and it really shows in this.
Yeah, right now 18 to 16, 12 kills to 4. It seems a bit of a dire situation right now if you are the negative synergy team. Really where you go from this one, because they got a lot of damage, a lot of control, but we haven't really seen that more root combo come down to a fine art just yet. They're trying to actually pick people apart, but it seems to be that they're always getting jumped upon and members being taken away from them before anything can actually really substantiate.
Yeah, exactly. But look at this now. They are going to be picking up their easy camps towards the bottom of the map. The boys are going to be able to apply that pressure onto the keep. It's no longer there, so bottom lane, a very, very fragile lane for the moment. We do see that they only need like another 44, sorry, to hand in, and that'll get them another set of web weavers. So it's going to be a very tricky situation for negative synergy to get back into this game.
Well, with that golem capture being taken in the bot-hand side, expect now to see the boys pressure this boss. They realise, well, you're in a bit of a dilemma where as soon as you hit level 20, you can actually defend this whilst we go for the boss. But look, the fight's about to break out. The root does go into Dasby, trying to blow up Ufa as soon as possible, taking out this fight and prevent that Divine Shield combination. But it doesn't happen. He tops himself up quite nicely, and they're still just hanging around this top-hand side, trying to find a pick if they can, because these golems are still pushing. You've got cannon minions coming across too. As soon as the boys spot one member do that, expect to see them try and force something.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they could definitely go for the boss now because seeing as that is continuing to push in the bot lane, they have to wait for the Grey Mane to come back and accompany them towards the top. But, you know, we do refer to the boss sometimes as a over to me, and I'm sure these teams, more so than any other team, are very much so aware of that.
There they go, Starving. They do see that Grey Mane was down there and Leeming is in no sight as well. They do try and go for the force to engage, but no, seem to be that negative synergy disengaged from that one pretty well. So we're back to square even. 5v5, it seems. Level 20 is only half a level away now for the boys, so that's another big power spike for them to try and abuse.
They try and wait for it, but they just force the fight here. I think the smarter play is actually to wait for it. Looks like that's what the boys are waiting on, and of course, that power spike, like you do say, can really push you ahead in the stages of the game there. So, not much time to go here for the side of negative synergy. I do think once the level 20 is picked up, they will simply need to back off.
Absolutely, you can see them just trying to clear this as much as possible, delay this hand in for as long as possible as well. as 40 gems
Look at
were
the boss.
deposited. And it seems to be that, well, Negative Synergy are trying to play those big mind games of saying, well, you know, if you're going to hang around there and think that we're scared because you have 20, look at this.
Wait
We're
a
going to
minute.
play you. We're going to go for the boss.
Oh
Negative Synergy
my.
are actually committing to this one. The boss is down to 10%. They're going to capture this one for
way.
free. Despy's going to check it, but the root comes out.
My.
And I think the boys are so confused as to what happened. They just got played.
Yeah, definitely. They definitely got played there, so they're going to have to back out of this one. That boss is just going to push away. But Skimmy, I think they're actually just going to go full fight this in full face.
Oh, and the more comes out once again, but to no avail. Tranquility's being popped as well, as Ice Block was mentioned, and they're trying to make things happen here. They actually got 3 members split off to take out this Mirror, and he goes those and does actually drop out across all of that there.
Yeah,
wow. A 1-for-none trade, 20-18. Boss was taken as well. I don't find anything more after that, Starving.
I think what the boys saw there is just they've been fighting boss. They've obviously got a couple of cooldowns in the thing now. Let's just engage them. Because they probably thought the boys were just going to turn around and deal with the boss. What they did is said, no, we're just going to kill you right here. You're out of position. And they really just jumped on top of that Zagara and just applied the pressure as fast as they could. So very nice plays by the boys. Not something that I would have done, but I'm not in one of these pro teams, am I? So very, very nice. But, you know, Negative Synergy. They're not out of this one just yet.
20-18, they still have that power spike available at them, and I just want to see these Morse a little bit more impact to try and get this combination as to why they actually drafted Malfurion in the first place. So I want to see how these ones go out. Playing base defense once again. Bless Shield was actually popped there very aggressively by Rob, but no team was able to follow up to that. So it's allowing them just to try and push on in with these web weavers. They got the bottom one pushing in for free with the cannons. They got the top one pressuring for free as well. So really, it's going to force a reaction to come out here, and it's a dire situation if you Negative Synergy.
Yeah, definitely. So the top one's just going to keep running. Well, I don't think anyone needs to die here on the side of the boys because they've already got a lot of work out of this. Rayman is rotating towards the bottom now to deal with that. I was going to say, the boys most likely just going to run up top and deal as much damage to the structures up there, waste the ammo, and really just get the map control just even more so in their favour.
They pushed as much as they could through that mid lane and exposed the keep there. They're now going to begin the siege on the top hand side too. And this web weaver is about to drop, but the laser has been popped and it's got the extended range at level 20 as well. So expect to see this go straight on towards that keep. And if nobody walks towards this force of fight, it's going to pick that up single-handedly. You'd have to imagine that focus damage only ramping up further and further, dropping it down to half. Now Penta leading that charge to make things happen. But you can see as soon as he jumps in to try and force something, instantly Tychus Lunara focus onto him and say, get away.
Yeah, exactly. But he's quite aware of that, using that Dwarven Toss to pretty much get in there and then Dwarven Toss out right away. And that's the sort of pace that you're to be playing, especially at solo tank. But I mean, something very, very scary here for Negative Synergy right on their door is the voids. And I mean, Lunara using her rage to very, very good effect and just trying to get a cheeky keep, you know, because they will have catapult flailing away here.
And they're trying to get it before level 20 has even been picked up.
Yeah,
They're starting
exactly.
to say they're really trying to abuse as much of this duration of this power level they have whilst it's available to them. That keep is down to, say, 10%. It's extremely low. And expect to see them do one final push with this next wave to secure that.
Yeah, definitely. And it looks like the Negative Synergy is just like, if you want it that bad, just grab it. You know, Li Ming's hanging around, trying to stop things as well. But such an annoying situation to be in when you don't want to force the fight. But they are level 20 now, so it looks like they can actually retaliate to some degree.
Now, expect to see a big team fight happen here. Now, we say I've been really wanting to see these Moors connect. I really want to see these Moors really separate the team and this allow them to blow up crucial targets. Now or never, really. I mean, they've been behind for the majority of this game, but Negative Synergy just need one team fight for this to happen. But there goes the Bless Shield, the Blink, as well as the Sundering comes across, and instantly Ice Block has been popped out by Malfurion. And if it's been taken out, Divine Shield was used as well, so it actually does get some value. Session pulls to retreat as well, but Ninja's going to gallop away, increase speed, really making sure that Session can get nowhere further than that. As he gets taken out to 1-for-none that trade at this stage here, looking to try and get more. Penta's forced to jump away retreatedly, and you know, it really exposes the backline here of Negative Synergy. Lahal on his own, he's being dropped down low, he's got the root on top of him, Benjamin smacks him in the head, and they're looking to try and take out more. Big wave of full, trying to split people apart from the boys, but it's 3 people of Negative Synergy down, and that's a keep for sure.
Yeah, and just to talk about what really happened there, Skimmy, is we just saw Ninja just really abusing the movement speed on Lunara. He's just always around the side of these fights, getting so much damage on Muradin. Muradin was about 50% health the whole fight, getting topped up back and forth, but it just wasn't a safe enough situation for them. But look at this now, Skimmy. They could potentially go lethal there and actually end the game.
Absolutely, going to try and pressure it at least. The shield is now being broken with people not being able to respawn for at least 15 seconds. This seems to be almost game, set, and match. Demise dropped.
Wow.
That was their main source of damage to try and make things happen. It's too little too late. Negative Synergy are going to drop the game too. and we're going to square things up for a best of 3.
Wow, so that's fantastic. So it's the second time today in our games alone, Skinny, where it's become a good old 1-1. So usually we do see in the ANZ region, especially in the past, a lot of 2-0s, but I think something we can take away from this is just the quality of these teams in our region and the players themselves just getting higher and higher. And I think a lot of players can really attest to that. As we've been talking to them as well, a whole lot of talent has just gone up. And but fantastic game. Let's have a look at the stats real quick before we toss it back over to this.
I think they're going to be beating themselves up, Negative Synergy. I mean, they went for the combination with the Malfurion. There were other supports available despite, what was banned on the table. So, I mean, the fact that they didn't actually go for the Rhaegar, given it was available, questioning as to why they did it. Because they say the comp was trying to achieve that more combination. Didn't really see it too often. And I feel like they lost a lot of that strength really going into that sort of phase of the game, because in the early game they didn't really have the wave play to bounce between. So, the game really sort of escalated from there.
Yeah, definitely. So a couple of cheeky comments coming out in the chat there and all that sort of thing. But, we love your comments and we love your feedback. So we'll toss it back over to this Concur and Vandy. And what were you guys' thoughts on that game? Pretty interesting, right?
It was a really good game to watch. And I guess just seeing, the way each team was reacting to each other. So from first game, they really bounced off. Ninja and Lunara doing so much, just poking, as you said, abusing the speed that he had, darting in and out, not being afraid though, relying on despots. I think that's one thing that the teams are really showing, as you said, they're really learning to play with each other, and there's that trust now, and that's how you become a great team. Like, he trusts that, okay, if I'm a little bit, towards the front line, despots has my back, and indeed, they were constantly positioned around each other. They were where they needed to be. And Zagara, I mean, the Moors were sort of locking out Arcana here and there, I saw in some of the team fights, but it wasn't enough. I mean, whoever was left, so Lunara could still shred Penta. And then as soon as the Moor was over, Arcana jumped right back into the fight, and that's where they sort of ran into a bit of trouble there. And they just had so much presence, I guess, in terms of, as well, if you look at the kills that the boys had over Negative Synergy, they really upped their game this time around. And then, so they chose the map that they were confident on, and then they went for it, and it was good to see. And Disco?
Those Moors were not on point at all that game. They hardly captured any heroes. Their roots couldn't get into place, position because of it. I mean, what the Negative Synergy tried to do with that sort of Malfurion and Zagara combo just did not work out for them at all. Apart from that, both teams were fairly, let's say, equal the entire game. There was no point where I kind of thought, wow, the boys are going to win, or Negative Synergy. There was really very few points in time of the game where I thought this is over. And so, no, it's a very impressive game, but really I think Negative Synergy got hurt with the off plays from Zagara, basically. We do have the draft for the next game already. We'll just get into it, and we'll get straight into the final best of 3 for these teams. Now, it is double elimination, guys, so it's not knockout for Negative Synergy or the boys at all. But you don't want to go to the lower bracket, because that's, final countdown, final chance time. So both teams will want to go to the upper bracket final.
Never a fun time to play in the best of 1, because that's when you can bust out your cheesy strats, like, your Nova, and, bust out
double limbers.
Yeah, exactly. Bust out your quick strategies, your quick match strategies.
360 no-scope strats.
You just chuck out that Nova you've been practicing for 14 months, and, you make sure that you're rank 1 in ANZ.
Yeah, exactly. And so real excited to get in this next game. We're just waiting for the boys at the moment. They're just and getting in the ready stages of the draft. But something I did want to touch on is I actually thought it was pretty interesting thinking about, because Benjamin 94, he's been a player that's been around for quite some time.
Yep.
And I mentioned this while we were watching the game. When in the first game with the boys, he was playing tank, and I really don't feel like I haven't seen him play a lot of tank. So it was quite interesting for me seeing him go back to his normal role. Being Thrall, quite a comfort pick for him as well, and it just shows how much more comfortable he feels in that sort of position.
He feels that flex role, because I believe they try and harness Ninja as the full sort of DPS, if you will.
Assassin.
Tychus, Arcana is almost a flex to a certain degree as well. I mean, he was a support player for quite a while, but now he's been put back on that ranged assassin. So they have a lot of flexible players on the side of the boys. I think it's just a case of what comp do we have in mind? Where do you want to go with it?
Well, that's the just to butt in, guys. That's the interesting about Benjamin 94 is that we've seen him play support, we've seen him play assassin, we've seen him in that in the tank role as of now. So yeah, when you say flex, he is completely flexible. Some of his best games have been... Well, actually, we've even seen him as Sylvanas from time to time. I think over in Worlds during Season 2, he actually played Sylvanas one game as well. So he's a very flexible player, but he definitely is at home with those bruiser characters, bruiser style or frontline sort of assassins.
Indeed, but the boys, they're trying to tilt us. They're just AFK or something like that.
Maybe they're waiting for the drafter to come back. Maybe we need to run downstairs and find out, where the drafter is.
Yeah, KBA.
We need you. Come on, sit down.
I mean, just having a look at the scoreboard, just to touch on it a little bit further, Li Ming did 111,000 damage, which is... I mean, we thought Lunara was doing a fair bit of work, which she was, but when you got that much damage, if you're almost padding your stats to a certain degree, you've got to be pretty upset that you didn't win that game.
Well, think about it as well. She did that much damage, and she took Wave of Force as well.
Yeah.
So there was no buffing from Disintegration. That was all skill shots.
Skill shots and auto attacks.
Black Ops Bay, game number 3 in this best of 3 series. It comes down to one of the most interesting maps here, the PvE map, if you will. And the boys go straight out of things and say, we do not want to let you have that Illidan. And I know Session is a very fond player of that.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, when you're allowing the Illidan to be left open, it kind of allows for the whole Illidan thing to happen. And that's just... We won't even go there. That's not something you want to be up against. Very, very strong. But, after dealing with the Zagara last game, they picked up their own Zagara last game. Negasuna just said, didn't work out too well. The Maul's moved to 1 point. We'll pick something else this time. Banning it out, and the boys obviously not going to be able to pick that themselves.
The boys now have a few different options. Usually they would go for that Fausted opener as they're very comfortable on it, especially on a map like this, but they decide to, vary from that common pick. They've gone for the Zul in this case, and they've passed the ball back into the court of Negative Synergy to say, well, do you want to go for that pick?
Yeah, and it's just, at this point in time, it's really just trying to force them into sort of picks as well. On Black Hearts Bay, we talk about it being quite PvE orientated, but the first picks are generally always going to be the same thing, like Falstads and all these sort of big picks like Zul and that sort of carry on. So no surprises there that Falstad has picked up for Negative Synergy. Global Pressure is fantastic. And maybe we might even see a the double Global Pressure, the Brightwing and the Falstad this game.
But this time you can see they've actually gone for the Falstad. No surprise there, but they've said, well, we know we've let Ninja have his turn on Lunara. We're not going to let him have another chance because, I'm going to show him how I play Lunara. And if we're going to bring it down to a battle of who can play Abathur better, how about we bring it down to a battle of who can play Lunara better too?
And it used to be a bit like when there's a couple other players around, who was the best Stitches for a while? I remember back in the beta and alpha, someone picked Stitches, the next game would see the opposing team be like, no, that's mine this time. KVA vs Stitches or whoever vs Stitches at the time. Very, very funny bands. Very personal bands between the ANZ region.
But it's a very competitive setup. I mean, these teams are no stranger to one another. They've been former teammates. They played up against each other in multiple tournaments. Hero League, they've been around in the scene for so very long. So there's a lot more to it than just, bragging rights. This is a case of we can play better than you. We're going to physically go overseas to represent our region instead of you. Yeah, indeed. It's been Negative Synergy every time. So I guess you could say this has definitely been the biggest matches of today, but it's a bit of a rivalry, all these big heads of the Heroes Storm ANZ region going at it here. So I'm real excited to get into this last installment of the game here. But Li Ming being hovered now, or locked in for the boys, that's their mage for this game, soon to being so effective all this time's going to be. And, just hovering their last pick here, just thinking, we've got a lot of time to think about this, and we want to win. Want to go overseas, don't we? Well, it just depends really whether I want to go with this direction. I don't think they're going to go for the aggressive damage route. They're going to decide between a tank and a support. They're currently hovering the Brightwing. Whether or not this is a response pick to the Falstad, as to say we need a global. But I mean, they've got a few different options they could go with. They do decide to lock it in, so looking to try and control once again. And we've seen a lot of this today. A lot of, say, single solo supports or just low sustained supports, but a lot more control. Yeah, definitely. A lot more CC with less healing and that sort of thing. So trying to just work around these big mechanical plays. But, Negative Synergy, they're looking to ban out their second character here. We do see on the side of the boys that they've got the support, they've got their mage, and they also have a nice wee specialist, good for pushing and that sort of carry on. Zul, very good in the old solo lane, but can be used as quite an efficient ganker as well. And they're really thinking about this one, Skimmy. What would you be thinking about banning if you were on the side of Negative Synergy at the moment? If you're Negative Synergy, I'd be thinking we need to take out a tank that's going to really disrupt what we're trying to do. And you can almost argue trying to take out a tank which is squishy, forcing them to be on a more beefy target, really to try and cater to what Lunara was trying to achieve. I'm not too sure, really. I mean, I feel as if it's either a tank or another assassin of some case that could really, ruin what Lunara or Fausto try to do.
Oh, well, nonetheless, I'm thinking about this one a whole lot, so you might have hit the nail on the head there. But, the boys, Negative Synergy, sorry, really thinking about this one. They are looking to ban out either the ETC or Kerrigan is what they're hovering at the moment. And we're seeing Kerrigan being banned out most games.
I like that.
Yeah, so do I. So they don't want to have to be dealing with that. Usually Kerrigan and Zagara are the first ones banned out in most of these matches. We're seeing today as well, Skimmy. So, yeah, the boys, it's now their turn to ban out something that they don't want to play against.
I wonder if the boys feel now pressured into taking away the UFA because, ETC is still on the cards, or whether or not they're quite happy just to let them have the UFA and say, by all means, you can take these champions and sort of add them to your roster because, we've got a different game plan in mind, even if you have that Divine Shield or that Mosh Pit. We're just going to play around it and beat you anyway. But it seems to be they're hovering that Johanna, and I wouldn't put it past them as, the worst band to take.
Yeah, definitely. So, Joanna's just, we've seen a lot of it today as well, just how disruptive Joanna can be with the Blessed Shield, people being really on top of that as well, picking really good times to toss it out and just pretty much smash someone up as quickly as you can during that CC lockdown time. They banned that out, locked that in, and now it's Negative Synergy's time to respond. They've only got 13 seconds left in the additional time pool, so they're going to have to be a bit quicker on these picks here.
Yeah, so we're down to the last few moments of this game, and I mean, I suppose you could say these are the closing moments of a final best of three. You're really going to try and run it down to the wire, discuss every possible option, discuss every possible variation, and decide, okay, how do we want to cater this one? How do we have the best chance of going into this? Because I say, we don't want to be in that situation of the best of one. It's never a fun time. A team that, might be less valued or less experienced can just trump you with some cheese.
Yeah, definitely. And you're expecting to play standard, and then sure enough, not standard at all. But look at Negative Synergy here. They do pick up the Mirrodin with that the good old CC. They've got the Thunderclap to reduce attack speed, all that sort of carry on. The Dwarven Toss we've seen a lot of. And Uther with a Divine Shield or possibly Divine Storm, but we haven't seen that since like Alpha days. Probably very unlikely.
Anubarak.
The boys are responding with Anubarak. So I believe Anubarak is quite a comfort pick for a player. Robodoba, he plays a whole lot of Anubarak. I'm not quite sure it's specific to this map, but yeah, I do know for a fact that Robodoba loving that Anubarak, and he's had a bit of a buff recently as well, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has. He sees a lot of play nowadays. I'm just wondering if they're going to go for a double sort of tanky setup here. Yeah. I mean, it would be kind of weird in the sense of a Lunara, but I feel like they need some more melee to just try and get into the face and just really bully head on what Negative Synergy are trying to do.
And the thing about this one, they're actually locking in the Zero Tool with only like the 2-second time pool to spare there. But it was between the Zero Tool and the Thrall, and definitely think that'll be the old Benjamin playing that Zero Tool there. I quite like the Zero Tool pick, to be honest with you. I think it allows the boys, if they want to kind of start off with this engage with a VP, they can, and it allows them to do some really tricky stuff. Maybe Falstad chucks out a big gust, and Zero Tool doesn't get caught in it. He can then VP the team as his team repositions himself back into fight again. But I mean, at this point in time, it's really tricky to say. Greymane, though, being locked in.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think the Anubarak really there is just to try and dive onto someone in the back line and really commit with what Zero Tool is trying to achieve too. Blow somebody up on their own accord and just let Li Ming do her own thing. And, they're hovering Negative Synergy between that Greymane and Tyrael. Tyrael potentially for the double, invulnerability to protect their carries, but Greymane just for the added damage. I think they'd have been a little bit too reliant on the Lunara and Falstad if they'd gone for the Tyrael. Wouldn't have really brought too much to the table here, but those are your two team comps, Negative Synergy and the boys on Blackheart's Bay, game number 3 of this best of 3 series. And I think, Starving, we're going to pass it back to Disconcur and Vandy for some analysis of that draft.
Definitely.
Thanks, guys. I mean, once again, we're just seeing strong picks, and we're also seeing the return of some comfort picks by Negative Synergy, snapping up Lunara Falstad early, and then sort of filling out the rest of the team. We've seen a lot of Mirrodin play, but Benjamin on Anubarak, like you said, or... Benjamin?
Robodoba.
Robodoba, sorry. I was like, that doesn't sound right at all. Benjamin loves assassins. I think Robodoba on Anubarak as well, it's quite strong, and as you said, Anubarak has been buffed in the recent sort of patches, and he's seeing a lot more play now, and he's quite viable. So I really like that pick in particular, and I think it'll help keep the team safe and sort of let them dictate the fights out better, as well as having that Zul there too. I think very strong picks there by the boys. And yeah, that's it for me. Disco?
I think looking at the boys' lineup, taking a Nubarak and Zeratul, I think it's going to play really well up against negative synergy. You're going to see that the Zeratul is going to jump someone in the back line. Negative synergy will turn to try and collapse on the Zeratul or put pressure on him. That's when a Nubarak can really dive in, get a good burrow charge off, or get some spikes, and really disrupt the flow of negative synergy in that regards. Give Zeratul the time he needs to kill, maybe a Falstad, maybe a Lunara. Li Ming can sit quite far away from the action, so she doesn't have to be concerned about what's going on. Brightwing can polymorph anyone that tries to sort of come into the Li Ming, or can go to the Zeratul and the Anurak to help in that situation. And Zul's going to be a really great lane pressuring tool here. And even in the fights as well, Poison Nova or even the slows on the Skeletal Mage, it doesn't matter, each heroic's going to be fairly effective in this lineup. I think the boys have a lot going here. If negative synergy kind of ignored this and go, right, Zeratul goes in, who cares who Zeratul's attacking? We'll try and push to that Li Ming. That's where the new rat can go, well, I'm still here. I can still interrupt your advance onto Li Ming, and Brightwing can defend everything going on. I think the biggest concern the boys really need to face is probably looking at the Greymane, or the Greymane leaping in to take out the Li Ming in the back line, or even the Zul. But Falstad's really got the big disengage player from negative synergy. And I think that's going to be the key, is Falstad keeping his Mighty Gust around for that big disengage play. Yeah, that's... I don't know. I think negative synergy might find this lineup against the boys a little bit hard.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just to harp on that a little bit more, excuse me, I do actually really like the boys lineup here. I think it's quite safe. And I think they kind of achieve the same thing as negative synergy, in the sense that, Falstad has his disengage mechanic or engage mechanic, and they have a similar thing being VP. So I'm actually really liking the boys' team composition here. Feeling real confident about their ability in this one. But I mean, if we've learned anything today, Skimmy, is that we don't know how it's going to turn out before the game even starts.
The only thing I can really add to the chirp in to really the discussion before this begins, the boys have burst damage. They lack a lot of sustained damage. If they don't find that initial pick, I feel like they're going to suffer. They need to have somebody as a shot caller saying, get out, wait for these cooldowns to reset. Whereas negative synergy, they want to sit around for as long as possible. They can beat on you because they say they have all this damage. Falstad, Lunara, and Greymane, so good times for them. Like I said, though, we're going to see how this game pans on out, and it's already begun. We're here, we're square, we're making it all happen, and on the left-hand side it is negative synergy.
Indeed, negative synergy. So we see them on the blue side, the left side, Lahal playing Greymane, Session on Falstad, Demise on Lunara, Luminum on Uther, and Penta playing Muradin.
That's right, and the boys on the right red side is Daspirits playing Brightwing, Arcana on Zul, Benjamin 94 on the Zeratul, Li Ming being played by Ninja, and a Robodoba on his trusty Anubarak.
Indeed, so, they're going to start things off the good old-fashioned way and contest the odd watch point like you do in Quick Match. So it's pretty much just like a muscle memory thing, I'm pretty sure, that you do at the start of every game. We see Benjamin 94 opting to kind of just scout out towards the bottom and see if he can get any information. Maybe try and get the early chest down there as well that does spawn. So Falstad's immediately just going to run on down, not use that fly just yet, to go up against the Zeratul.
You expect to see Benjamin sit here for the meantime just to try and scout out and see if any rotations come down for this chest. I would almost expect also Dasby to come down too with that phase shift to turn that into a 2v1. Right now it's going to be just a passive sort of lane setup. These two players very familiar with each other and how they play, so it's going to be all for bragging rights down there.
Yeah, definitely. So that first chest spawning now for both sides. It looks like the boys are kind of in the advantageous position to grab these points. Stuns coming out onto Arcana. Nice use of that bone shield there to kind of get out of that sticky situation. Benjamin 94 actually looking to be the aggressor on the bottom chest as well. 1 coin each for the bottom laners there, but it's just going to be so hard, as Brightwing does tally in here, and this might actually be a dead Skimmy.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was calling. I say, as soon as the fight looks to be able to break out, the phase shift comes across, and that becomes a 2v1. Demise rocking up, but just a little bit too late. Those seconds do matter in sort of circumstances like that, and allows Benjamin to win the trade and ultimately get the coins for his team.
Yeah, definitely. So very, very nice pick at such an early stage in the game. Lunara's going to kind of take that position in the bottom lane as the Soulful just momentarily. But yeah, like I was saying, the boys just in a little bit of a lead at the moment as they are rotating just that little bit faster than negative synergy are at the moment. You see Falstad flying, running his way down towards the Hampton point, just trying to get some information as well there. and Zeratul running down as well.
I wouldn't be surprised to see the boys trying to adapt their playstyle a little bit as this game goes on, just to leave Arcano up heads to soak both top and mid, because he can quite efficiently clear those 2 lanes on his own and allow the boys as a 4-man unit. Physically as a 4-man unit just to gank and the bot lane and invade and look for people trying to take camps on the side of Negative Synergy.
Yeah, and it's just showing so far, Skimmy, just how controlled this game is. They're very, very cautious, both teams. But one thing I do like seeing is Demise just playing the Lunara to a key and just being such an annoyance all game, and another pick at the bottom lane for Benjamin and Dasperts.
And that's really the case of what they're trying to achieve here. The kill itself doesn't achieve much, but it's the solo lane which they're trying to really abuse. If you're not there, you can't soak it. So now Zeratul is free to roam, scout out and to see if anybody was actually coming down to actually assist at session, and Dasby can just do global things, soak up and get out if he needs to.
Yeah, definitely. But absolutely fantastic things that are going to be happening here. Zeratul actually looking to pick this hard camp, the easy camp, sorry, but the Brywing going to be able to help him out. And it's going to make it a whole lot easier for him to grab that. And if there's a bit of nice timing there, might have been able to get a kill, but of course, dabbling into pretty scary territory there.
And you can see boys going for that one there, doing what they can, and it seems to be that the advantage is in their favour because it's a full level lead, 6-5 right now. As the boys really just trying to keep bouncing between these lanes, keep up that pressure, hit those talent tiers first, and just snowball like we saw them do last game.
And funnily enough, used to be an audio engineer, but our mic was backwards. So thank you to whoever in chat suggested something like that. But enough about that. Get back into the game. Looks like Zeratul hanging around the Handen point, Skimmy, just getting some scouting, and he's doing a very good job of this, isn't he?
Yeah, he did a great job actually to bait out the flight from Session 2 just to see, okay, is a bit of a fight about to break out? No, it's not, but we've got the information we need. The orb, or actually I should say the wisp is in the vents there to try and scout out any more. 8 coins on the side of Benjamin 94 are going to be deposited, 17 in total, and it spawns quite nicely for this next set of chests.
Definitely. Look at Session getting dropped so low there as Benjamin actually jumps over and uses that slow that we all know and love on Zeratul. But the shots are being fired, the cannonballs are remaining for the side of the boys, and this is really where it starts getting scary and really where more experienced teams tend to be in more of a better position. We already see the boys in a level advantage now, and as soon as the first shots are fired, one can argue that team kind of controls the game until Negative Synergy comes and wins a team fight, Skimmy.
Absolutely, they got the advantage. They're not showing any signs of getting rid of it right now. They picked up the chest as well, and they've got a whole bunch of coins ready to hand in straight again. So they're going to go for the Knights on the spot hand side. 4 members of the boys looking to capitalize on this one. As I was mentioning before, just leave Zul up there in the top on his own, just to bounce between lanes. So can really commit multiple members to respond to him and allow them to reach level 10 even easier.
Yeah, definitely. So, level 9 from the side of the boys, and there's a hard camp pushing in the bot lane. So, wow, if we actually pay attention here as well, Simi, it actually looks like Negative Synergy were trying to rotate down, but Zeratul's always hanging around these wee choke points, stopping the Falstad from doing these rotates, and it's being so squishy, can really stuff up your momentum there, but just look at this now. Same thing going on all game. Zeratul just waiting for these picks.
And looks to be that this is the time for Negative Synergy to try and find a collapse. They're going to go straight for Dasby. He's got 4 coins on him, and there's no way he can get out. That's 4 coins deposited into the hands of Negative Synergy. They had 17 in total, and that's a fair few to give up for free, but they try and collapse and find more. They do a bit of damage to Rob, but it's not going to be enough for him to find, death.
Yeah, definitely. And this whole while, Skimmy, they managed to get a couple of coins. They got themselves a pick. But the whole while, they've been soaking at the top lane. So the boys may look like they came a bit... Oh, actually, look at this.
Yeah, they're going to go for the VP as well. And as a result of them having the phase shield, they can just instantly turn that into a 4v4 once again. They're going to keep going for this. It's level 10 to 8. They have the advantage. They don't have a Zul. Zul's coming down now, but it's not going to be enough. Ufa gets dropped out. Disintegrate takes him off the board. Make that another one. Lunara dropping as well. When actually, bear in mind, Starving, that's Demise playing Lunara, not Lahal. Lahal was on Greymane. He drops 2. Tilted.
Wow, that was an amazing fight there. So the boys, they lost that little fight there just before, came back strong and said, you know what, we messed up a little bit. Let us show you how it's done. But look at this XP disadvantage now for the side of Negative Synergy. Like, the 2 levels down, and it's only going to get worse from here, Skimmy. You've played this map enough. I've played this map enough. The viewers know this map, and this is a scary situation to be in.
Absolutely, and I say that's just the advantage of having the ultimates when the other team doesn't. You say even if it's a 4v5, you can still just capitalize. You can make things happen. And we've got Blankhill taken, by Brightwing, so even more of a nuisance to try and deal with. You've got like Disintegrate, as we mentioned before, no wave of force this time, so just looking to try and snipe off members wherever you can. And like we said, you've got these 2 big diving champions. You've got the Zeratul and the Nubrak really looking just to jump on the back line, and then as Negative Synergy, you've got to decide: do we commit for this leaving, or do we just respond to these melee.
I actually really liked that fight when we were watching it as well, Skimmy, because we talked about how the VP can be used to just pick off one target, and he locked it down perfectly. The burrow came in, the stun came in from the Nubarak, and they got the pick just centimeters, millimeters away from that Void Prism. But look at this, Benjamin 94 actually being spotted in the shimmer. Is he going to go down? No, he doesn't. Dwarven Toss trying to be used by the Polymorph. Following up, Skimmy, what is going on?
Oh, beautiful plays that actually go for the Gust as well. Session making it happen. He only gets the Gust onto Rob, and that's a big cooldown used for little, for no gain, to be honest, as he just burrow charges out of that one.
Massive.
They have 18 gems or 18 coins to 5. They were looking to try and pick a few away, but they've been played because I say they've got the Knights pushing top, and they need to respond to that now. And, well, knowing that flight is down on Falstead, they can just go straight back in, hand those coins in for free.
And this is exactly what we've been talking about all game. So they're at the top now trying to defend that. Falstead is. And, oh, wow, another Void Prism coming out. Skimmy, we might see a pick.
Yeah, big Void Prism is going to come across. There goes the Polymorph too. Looks to be that Daspy's going to try and 1v1. He's actually going to go for it. Greyman gets taken out first of all. Ice Block denies anything further from happening. Big Locust Swarm goes across. Divine Shield popped on Ufa of all people as he escorts himself out of harm's way. But the members of the boys are quite safe. They find the kill onto the Greymane, and they're going to just completely abuse this map, light it up red.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic for the side of the boys here. And, you know, I honestly thought the Lunara may have dealt a lot more damage, but I think the advantage and the strength of the boys here in this particular game is the lead that they got on so early using Benjamin 94's stealth and that sort of carry on. So just really shows how comfortable Benjamin is on those assassins. And I thought he was going to die when he just got jumped there in that wee gap and that wee horseshoe, but he managed to live, so big trust in the healer there.
Yeah, they tried to blow him up with that stun combo in the vent there, but he managed to get across. Muradin committed for it and actually overextended in the end, and it allowed really them for this to turn the fight around, win it. And from there, you know, snowballed his lead even further. They're 3 levels up now, starting 7 kills to 1.
Absolutely fantastic position to be in on this map, Skimmy. Level 14 now, the talent here advantage is certainly real. And Ninja's I feel like they're just keeping the pressure on the bot lane and just trying to wither down these towers until the point where they can just run on in. Because if we look now, Skimmy, there's only 1 keep remaining. Well, 2, soon to be 1.
Absolutely, and I say that's this permanent lane pushing, and you can see this is desperate times now. Negative Synergy have made the call. They're going to go straight for this boss. They did it last time on Tomb of the Spider Queen, and to quite a bit of success. They're going to try and do it again now, and it doesn't seem to be that the boys are too aware of this unless they are just choosing not to respond to it. They've got Arcana sitting pretty in the top-hand side. He's going to scatter information if he needs to go any closer, but it doesn't seem to be too fussed about it. They're going to go for the VP fight most likely afterwards. Oh, the VP comes across. It's denied it just a little bit longer, but there goes the kill. Session gets taken out of it. They do get the boss regardless, though, but the fight is still going to break out. It's being captured. They're making things happen. There goes the Divine Shield. It's not going to be to any success. Rob is taking on 2. Muradin drops. That's 3 members for none right now. Make that 4. Only Lumen available. He runs to the corner. He's got Beetles chasing him, and it's going to be a battle of supports. Daspy versus Ufa, and, well, nothing really to see there.
Yeah, to be honest, what happened there as well was Li Ming just getting way too much worth of those reset mechanics that she has. We saw her sitting in the bottom left entrance of that boss, and the Disintegrate just went through the whole enemy team. Lunara tried to get out of there, she couldn't, and just ended up getting disintegrated quite literally, not figuratively. So a lot of coins to be lost for the side of blue, and, you know, one can argue they managed to get some worth out of it, getting the boss and stopping the boys from getting it themselves. But, you know, the response from the boys was very prompt, and they managed to get yet another hand in, as we can see Arcana and Benjamin going for town there.
That's it, and this is going to start working on towards that bottom keep. That means this entire core is exposed. And I say it's just the nature of this map. Once you find yourself in that lead, very hard to give it up, and you can literally just play the passive game of just collecting coins, which they've been doing a marvellous job of again.
Indeed. So look at this. They are picking up their night camp. Now the map is absolutely littered red, Skimmy. Has been for quite some of this game as well. Level 13 to 17, 12 kills to 1. So the boys, you know, they weren't happy with their first performance in their first game. They just ramped it up 120%. Only a couple coins remaining, but Skimmy, another fight breaking out yet again.
That's the one. It seems to be the same sort of situation. That bush is so cancerous because even people always seem to be looking in there. Brightman gets taken out. Beautiful Divine Shield prevents Lunara from dropping it in exchange, but it seems to be that the fight is not done and over just yet. Greymane taken out. Big combination from Li Ming. Resets allowed to disintegrate just to swivel from left to right. Looking for another kill. The VP zones out anybody further. Ventus says, I can't walk that way, so I'll walk this way. Still running. He's got the Divine Shield clone, actually the Divine Spirit clone of that Ufa trying to top up Pension for as long as possible, but Ninja says, you cannot get away from me. He's going to spot him. He actually doesn't, but no, he does. He gets the kill. He gets the reset. and Muradin thought he had a chance. He doesn't.
Yeah, no, he doesn't have a chance. Maybe if he had a cheeky dwarven toss, but to be honest, in this sort of situation, I've been in this situation myself. It's going to be very hard to come back from this. Really looking like the boys have the momentous play to really put this in a closing here. They are PvEing to win right now. And this is just, this is where a lot of players' dispositions come from in this match. It's just when you're behind, it feels really impossible to get back into the game, more so than almost any other map.
Well, it's the kind of map where I say if you just play passive and just clear lanes, you're going to lose.
Yeah.
And not for the fact that, they're going to come to your core and attack you. They're literally just going to hand in coins. And they're going to allow it, as you can see right now, just to bomb the core for free. So you need to get out there, despite being down talents. I think the only way that Negative Synergy have to get themselves back into this, hit level 16 and just force the fight. And if it doesn't work out, well, at least you gave it a try.
Yeah, definitely. So this is looking like one of the last pushes here. They are just going to have to get one more hand, and they have exactly 21 coins, which is the required amount, more than their required amount, as a matter of fact.
GG then.
And that is GG indeed. So all they need is one more fight. Benjamin 94, just looking for a couple more skirmishes. Laha with a bit of cheeky BM there, B stepping. And one more fight seems to look like it's breaking up.
That's the one. Divine Shield popped onto Ufa of all people. Once again, the gust comes out too to prevent anything from further happening with that one. They bolt in. They know it's GG. They're just looking to get some stab padding instead. Bit of celebratory dancing as the core does go down. The members cheer. GGs are exchanged. And Negative Synergy find themselves after a convincing Game 1 win in the losers bracket, unfortunately.
Yeah, but to be honest, got to put it past the boys. They managed to come back. We saw a similar performance as to the first game we casted today with Plantronics NV. And who was their opposing team? It was... how can I not remember that? It's so silly of me. But
it was the chicken salt match.
Chicken salt! I said it on mute, sorry.
Exactly. So chicken salt, very similar situation there where they, lost the first game, but managed to bring it back. And the boys, they just did the exact same thing, lost their first game and managed to clean up their act, very much so. But Negative Synergy, still such a great team, and what a game that was.
It was amazingly enjoyable to watch. They couldn't do it, unfortunately, the Negative Synergy guys. Now, they aren't out, as you said. They do go into the lower bracket. So they do have an opportunity to come back into the grand final. Who knows, they may meet up again with the boys. But on that last map, they just couldn't really respond to that Zero tool. Benjamin playing a great game on that, getting a lot of really early aggressive plays, killing those heroes, again, denying experience soak, and you saw with the difference in levels and also with the difference in kills. Negative Synergy only got 2 kills that entire game, as opposed to the boys who were sitting on 16. So it just shows you how much, how well the early game and late game was for the boys.
Well, we did see, like I was trying to say before, Disco, the first game was a complete 180 of that, and we were commenting on how well, all of us were commenting on how well we thought Negative Synergy were playing, and just how much like Negative Synergy they still felt, so...
A controversial opinion that I'm going to bring up is someone could argue that almost Blizzard, to a certain degree, assisted Negative Synergy with that first game. I mean, okay, boys went for the boss, it didn't work out. They got that. They then went for the boss on their own side. Oh, conveniently enough that the tribute spawned there. Hey, now we've got a curse. Now we push on through. We've got to keep. Well, what can you do from there? So, I mean, a bit of a controversial opinion, but I say it didn't really work out from that point on. Going into Game 2, going into Game 3. Yeah. It's almost as if the boys suddenly thought, okay, we've been to these situations. We know what we need to do. Okay, you might have our name, but we're going to win this.
Team, though, aren't they? So they've been in these, I guess you could say, very high-intensity, tilting situations. When you go over to these lands, they've gone over and represented our region as well. So I'm sure, we can humble ourselves a wee bit, Disco and Skim and Vandy. In our wee little tournament, they still managed to bring the best of surprises. So, absolutely fantastic game by both teams, but got to put your hands together for the winners there.
That was a good best of 3, indeed. And just Zeratul kind of playing like the Tracer in the first game, like what we sort of wanted moves to do on Tracer, just zipping in and out, getting the enemy team to chase him, and then getting the rest of the team to just sort of close in around there while their attention was sort of taken away. So it was really good to see. Really well played by Benjamin on Zeratul, as you said. And the game time almost ended on 1-3-3-7, I just noticed. So it was a lead time to win. 1 second short. 1 second short.
Not good enough.
As for some fun little tidbit on the side.
All right, so we are now going into the finals for the upper bracket. It is the boys, I believe, coming up against Reality. Reality have fought their way through. They beat Plantronics NV and now come facing the boys. So I will organise the draft links, guys. Bear with me, but yeah, Reality versus the boys. Would you have predicted these two in the upper bracket finals? Not the finals, the upper bracket finals.
Yep.
Well, I mean, the boys, to be honest, yes. Like, we were talking before, and we've talked a bit about this already, but they probably have the strongest roster, I guess we could say. They have the most experience going over to these overseas land events, representing a nation, a collective, ANZ. And so I just definitely do think that they would have more knowledge and more experience, so it's not very surprising for me that we do see them there. But I think the thing to remember as well is just like, for me, I like seeing the other team's performance go up as well in contrast to the best teams of our region. So I think everyone today has performed more so better as time has gone on. All the teams have gone into a higher tier of skill. I think you could agree.
To really add to that, I would say that I'd expect Negative Synergy to come out as the winner of the lower bracket and just meet the boys back again in the finals for a chance at redemption. So those would be my predictions personally, but what would yours be?